Hello, good afternoon. Savva here from Savva Talks Football, joined by my favourite Perchy and my favourite Kuva. How are you, lads? You good?
Good here, thanks. And yourself, mate?
Always. It's a London derby. What's not to like, right? What could go wrong?
Well, Perchy's audio setup could go wrong, couldn't it?
Yeah, he's on mute. I mean, some might say they prefer him that way.
I think he's got tons of stuff playing. That's why he's on mute.
Yeah. Perchy, you there?
Can you hear me?
Leave those naughty channels alone.
The whole thing went silent. I can hear what you guys are doing. How's it going?
All good this end, mate. All good. Look, just a quick hour or so, just an hour to discuss. We've got a huge game coming up. I mean, realistically, Kuva, let me start with you and welcome to everyone in the chat. Please smash the like, subscribe if you haven't, and get ready to listen to us talk a lot of sense about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Kuva, realistically, this should be routine for most clubs. We're playing a bottom three side who don't win many games, don't score many, have got 7 first-team players out injured. We're the home team. We've got Kane, Son and Kulusevski. What could possibly go wrong, Kuva?
Dr. Tottenham. It's always on the cards, isn't it? London derbies, we've seen it way too many times over the years to get carried away with it. We've seen ourselves 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go and still manage to lose, to throw the game away. You just can't really tell until it starts going. Whichever team starts fast, starts with the most passion, tends to be the one that rides it out. It's sometimes it's more about winning the war than playing great football, isn't it? That's what it always usually turns into against West Ham. I'll just worry about the players like they still got like Souček. He's the sort of one that is going to win headers in our box. We are not good at that. So they've still got some potent weapons at their disposal. And we're not playing well. We really are not playing well. The defence hasn't really changed throughout the season, averaging sort of letting in sort of a goal and a half a game. And the attack has declined. Since the World Cup's come back, we're scoring at half the rate we were. Those goals that were saving us early season, no longer there. We're in a spot of bother now. And Bentancur missing, that is massive for me. It was one sort of bright spot. Well, actually, Højbjerg's been doing a pretty good job getting forward, supporting the attack as well. But Bentancur's just classy, isn't he? He's a big miss.
Yeah, he is. He is a big miss. I mean, Perchy, let me ask you then. I mean, everything Kuva's just said there is absolutely spot on, right? We're not playing well. It's Dr. Tottenham. But isn't this the sort of game, if I sit with a positive hat on, isn't this the sort of game where that can swing? We come out, 2 early goals, you're 2-0 up at half-time against West Ham, you win the game 4-0, and we go on a run. Am I dreaming? Is this what could happen?
Okay, we be realistic. We said this about Man City. We went and beat the champions. Let's go on a run of games and win things. And then we went to the King Power and got absolutely battered, and then went to the San Siro against a really average team and lost a game of football there. So listen, can we beat them? Yeah, of course we can. We've got a better team than they have. Should we be beating them? Of course we should be a better team. But we've had this before against West Ham, where all of a sudden we don't turn up to these games. This necessarily is, we should be winning these games of football. We know how this works every single time. Yeah, we could go and win it. And could we go and bounce on? Yeah. I say this all the time. We can do, but we never seem to. It's a slight difference, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kuva's, again, Perchy's spot on there. It's the number of false dawns, where this is the game that changes our season. But look, we're now in a position where we had that really bad run of form. We stopped it with a win against Fulham, win away at Preston, win to Man City, and it was 3 wins in a row. We're back. We're not conceding goals. We've sorted it out. Conte supposedly had this wonderful team meeting with the defenders about how we must defend. We then get spanked at Leicester, look poor against Milan. Now we've got West Ham. Kuva, there can't be any excuses today, can there? They've got more injuries to first-team players than we have.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, Basuma doesn't get in our team anyway. Sessegnon, meh. it's really only Lloris and Bentancur, isn't it, missing from today's lineup?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the way to look at it. Although you could say the form of some players they're missing while they're playing.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was an interest. Did you see the interview, the little interview with Romero this week? That was quite an interesting one. He basically came out and he said that we'd been rebuilding a bit of confidence in the team, and the Man City result was a good one. They thought we were going to go forward, but then Leicester basically knocked the stuffing out of confidence within the squad. We are struggling to build that sort of team spirit again. It was really telling. It's unusual to see him do an interview, but yeah, that's all you could pick from it. When one of your players is saying what we know anyway, you can't just go and beat the champion City and then putting a shift like that at Leicester was just unacceptable. Harry Kane using the words again. The performance was unacceptable. It really was.
How many times he said that all season? That's telling. Yeah. How many times he used those sort of words?
Yeah.
Do you know what makes me laugh, guys? Is I feel like for the last 7-8 years, they take it in rotation. You've got Dyer, Kane, Lloris. They come out in rotation after one of these unacceptable games, and it's the buzzwords, isn't it? That, you know, we'll go back and work harder. We'll put it right in training. We'll learn from this. You know, everybody's keen to ensure it doesn't happen again. And then you just know there's one of these right around the corner, isn't there? But let me change tact in questioning. I think we'll win today, so please bear that in mind before everyone calls me negative. If we don't win today, guys, at what point does the job become untenable for the coaches and the manager? Now, I know he's not well, but this will then be another run of form where we go 3 on the bounce without winning. What point is it untenable? I know that sounds mad, but what do you think?
For me, right now, if we were going to sack anybody, it would have already happened. Would have happened after the transfer window, I think. I think we're just riding it out to the end of the season now, see what we can get. I think we'll pick up enough points not to embarrass ourselves, but I don't see us getting anything. I just don't see how anybody's going to turn it around at the moment. So the arguments we're always having, it's not about winning anything. It's not about being successful. It's just like, at least let's enjoy what we're watching, because there is nothing else. Abandon ye all hope, all who enter here. That's what needs to be above the door, doesn't it? We're just awful. I mean, Porro comes along, good footballer, looks really attacking talent. Goes into our team, looks, completely out of sorts. So we got no defence, basically. It says a lot when we need Emerson in just to look solid, more solid at the back. But even that doesn't matter, does it? We're just shambolic. Goals leaked on a regular basis. We got people saying, we got a few clean sheets lately, but I mean, it's against teams like Preston and Portsmouth.
Yeah,
that's not really the same, is it?
We were poor against Portsmouth.
And then the outside of the clean sheets, good one against Fulham, I suppose. That was a good win away from home. But I don't get any confidence from what we're doing. There's no sort of sense of we're building on this, then taking it further, and the attack's starting to click into place, and we're starting to play some, exciting stuff. It isn't. It's the complete opposite for me. There's no sort of fluidity to the team. There's no sort of style and adventure and sense of taking a risk up front with some individual bits of flair and cunning. It's just all predictable. Long ball stuff, crosses. It's like a 1980s lower division team trying to play in against a cup side, a higher division cup side. You just play to the dead ball situations, hope you ride your luck till then.
But is that something? I mean, let me ask you both this: is that something that does baffle you a little bit in terms of, look, we can have the conversation about how good or bad our defenders are all day long, right? I think that is a conversation that's open for debate. Just how bad they are, should we be getting more out of that area, right? But I don't think any of us have ever debated the talent of Son, Kulusevski, Kane, even Richarlison, who scores goals for Brazil, scored goals for Everton. What's going wrong there for you, Perchy? Like, I get it. We're always going to concede goals, but we don't even look like we don't look like worrying or stretching defences anymore, do we? It's what's happened for you?
Well, I think you've kind of hit a lot of it on the nail there. I think we're so worried about defending at this club at the moment. We kind of don't just sort of go and we've had this conversation in group chats and stuff like that. And I kind of am at the point where we've got good attacking players. But let's be frank and honest. As I said, people tell me all the time that we've got one of the best front threes in the league, but we don't even attack anymore. As I said, the only times we seem to attack is if we work a counter attack, and even then we're not doing that anymore. It's weird, and sort of just to pull you back on your point about earlier about the manager going and stuff. I think he's lucky that everyone around us has been as inconsistent as we have. If it wasn't for Chelsea and Liverpool having a really shocking first half of the season, we could have been 10 or 15 points off top four and it'd have been gone. We're kind of in that loophole where we're kind of lucky that Newcastle, yes, they don't lose many games, but they don't win many games either. They draw a lot of games.
Yeah.
We're at that point where we're very lucky that the teams around us aren't going on 6-7 game winning runs. Because if it was like that, I think it'd been gone by now. Genuinely.
Can I just say, guys, Kuva, let me bring you in on this. I do worry how football fans, it seems to have gone. I mean, the reality, common sense seems to have gone out the game. Like this comment here, when we talk about Chelsea lost to Southampton with no manager, bottom of the table with 600 million transfers, they would trade Conte for Potter any day now. We don't know how good we have it. I feel like this whole Chelsea situation is making everyone else kind of excuse what anyone else is doing. Now, I don't know. I do know what you think about this actually, Kuva, because I did watch you last night for a little bit on In the Wall. I didn't watch anyone else, just had my camera focused on you. You know, I know. You look so nice. But Chelsea, I don't want to go deep into Chelsea. This is a club with a new owner, a new manager, a new technical director of football, and they've signed 14 players since July, right? There is no wonder Chelsea are not clicking, don't know their best 11, are in a bit of a rut. There's no wonder, but we're not that club. We haven't had 14 new players that we're trying to bed in 6 months. We don't have a new manager. We don't have new owners. We don't have a technical director of football. Do you see what I'm saying? Is there any, Potter's doing crap, so we must be really happy we've got Conte?
Yeah, my analogy. Oh, nice there. You got a good face for In the Wall. My analogy for Potter was like, well, said it last night. Imagine he's the new chef at the kitchen. He's just taken stock in, which is all the new players. Yeah. He doesn't even know what he's got yet, let alone trying to piece it together. This is going to take him quite some time. His job, really, the rest of this season, as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be deciding on which group of players he wants to work with for the first team next season, and then which ones can be going out on loan. That's it. There's no more than that. You can't possibly expect somebody to gel a team together with 14 new players instantly. And not only that, but he's also got to implement his philosophy on how to play the game. He's there for the long term. They gave him a 6-year contract, I think, Potter. That's because I believe their ownership, they realise what the score is. It's a big upheaval. It's going to take time, and I think they've got patience that Abramovich doesn't. The ones that are making it so difficult for the team, of course, are the fans. But, of course, you can understand that. I mean, 2 wins in, 15, is it? That's pretty poor. But it's a case, as long as they're not in danger of getting relegated, then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I think they've got a long-term plan in place. I think the fans will start seeing something else happen. I mean, it's going to get better as it goes along. I really don't think Potter's this fraud manager that so many people are saying. I think he's quality. Can't hear you, Sav.
Can't hear you, mate.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on my mic today. Apologies. I mean, John, when you're talking about, all these star signings, look, first of all, I think they're not all star signings. A lot of them are younger players for the future.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be confused by price tags. When you look at Mudryk, he's a young player coming from a league that isn't the Premier League. Enzo Fernandez is still 20 years of age. Fofana, who started yesterday, is like 18, 19 years of age, right? I feel like people are talking about them as though they're the Chelsea of old that are buying Didier Drogba's, that are buying Makelele's, that are buying Lampard's and Ballack's and Deco's. This isn't that. And I'm not excusing them losing, John, by the way. I think obviously they've got to win those games. But I just do not think it's as simple as going, here's 14 new signings. Bearing in mind he wasn't there in the summer. Go and win. Go and get your best 11. From yesterday, they said it this morning on Sky Sports. From yesterday's game, they had 6 new signings starting in the 11, and a further 4 came on to the pitch. So 10 new players from the summer. So some bought in this window, some bought in the window before. They've got 8 first-team player injuries. I mean, I don't know what people think. I don't know what they think is going to happen. Like Potter's out of his depth. I just feel people are very knee-jerk. Let the man have the rest of the season. Let him get his squad. And next year, when they add Nkunku, and then these players have been here for 6, 7, 8 months a year, I think you're going to see a different team. What's our excuse, though, guys? Because I'm seeing from the new players we brought in since the summer, the only one that plays week in, week out is Perchy. Yeah. So what's our excuse for getting worse, playing worse than last year?
You want to go, Perchy?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think this is the point about people sitting there about Chelsea, and like I said, I think they've just gone and signed a load of players. And yeah, as you say, they've got to bed these players in. It's like people don't, as you say, everyone's so knee jerk. And the thing is this is the point everyone says. It's easy to laugh at Chelsea right now; they're doing badly. Guarantee you, next season, once it's all sorted and he's figured out how he's going to set this team up, they'll be a lot higher in the league next season, probably above us, because we don't sign the caliber. And listen, this is the point. Like, so Jesse, I think Graham Potter's a good manager. I genuinely think he'll build something there at Chelsea. If they stick with him, they will. I don't necessarily want to talk too much about Chelsea, but it's a sense of then what's. But then the point is, everyone sits there and talks about Potter being out of his depth. Could argue about that about Antonio Conte. I don't think he's massively incredible. Everyone sits there and says, "Oh, Chelsea would love a Conte." I don't think Conte would get the best out of that squad at the moment straight away. And I think people, and I say this about Antonio Conte, and I repeat this all the time. His name precedes himself, and I say this all the time, and people kind of completely misinterpret what I say about him. I don't think he's that amazing. I think everyone thinks he is because he's won stuff at massive football clubs. Do you sort of see what I mean?
I agree. I mean, Kuva, look, let's talk about that. Look, I don't want to kick Conte while he's down, but at the end of the day, I also don't want to be roped into this whole, we can't talk about him because he's recovering from surgery. I'm not being funny, right? If I went and had surgery and recovered, I would still expect everyone at my company to be talking about me, right? So I'm sorry, I'm not gonna fall into that trap like he's dying or something, right? He's had a gallbladder surgery. He's not dying. So what has he underachieved this year with what he's got, Kuva?
Has he overachieved?
Overachieved?
That's a difficult one. I'd say underachieved because we haven't built on what we did last season. So we finished top 4, so big summer apparently. I agree with you though. It's only really Perisic as the likely first team starter so far. So
possibly Longley rotated for Davis.
Maybe. Right. Bissouma seems to be in through necessity rather than by choice. Same with some of the others. I think that the telling things are things like Conte saying the defense is fine. It's that he needs other players, and then you watch some of the performances coming out, and you think either he's lying or he doesn't know what he's talking about. I can't believe he doesn't know what he's talking about. So why is he putting up with this lack of investment in the back 4? Well, the back 5, I should say, or back 3, however you want to look at it. The fact we're still talking about Dyer and Davis as mainstays in the first team is incredible. But that's what Conte's doing. So he's guilty of putting up with it at the very least, isn't he? So I think he's underachieving. We should have pushed on from last season. We had a good run towards the end of last season. All that's gone. All that sort of look at Son for a start. He looks like a shadow of the player. Is that entirely down to Son? I don't think it is. You look at the way he's playing now. He's dropping deeper and deeper, doing more and more defensive work. That's not how you play Son, is it?
No,
he's supposed to be
he's getting it all wrong.
He's supposed to be on the shoulder of the last defender, isn't he? Look, doing a JD, if anything, just trying to get in there to nick some goals.
That ties in nicely, Kuva, to this. That ties in nicely to this. I keep hearing this. Give Conte those Chelsea players, he'd win the league. Now, I hate to tell you, Antonio Conte's got Kane, Son and Kulusevski up top. And we can't score goals and we don't look like scoring goals, right? Chelsea don't have any forwards of that ilk. Let's be really, really honest, guys, do they? No. Chelsea don't have any forwards that can match Son, Kane and Kulusevski.
Oh, no, wait. You could read this a different way, though, couldn't you? If we got all those players and shoved them into the Tottenham team, yeah, we could do something with that. Because
maybe. Yeah, I mean,
then we have got Kane. We've got the bit that they're missing, and they've got everything else.
And I just want to say, just quickly, right? As I said, my wife's family are all Chelsea season ticket holders, and they always say to me, like, Spurs fans keep saying, "Oh, Chelsea will take Conte back." No, they bloody wouldn't.
Yeah, I was saying no, they wouldn't.
Their fans their fans put up with his football when they won the league. Yeah, put up with it, but they said it was crap and it was literally individual brilliance of Eden Hazard most games that made it bearable. And in the second year, they couldn't stand him, right? So Spurs fans that go, "Oh, Chelsea would want him back," I promise you, Chelsea do not want Antonio Conte back. Look, Kuva, Perchy, look.
I was going to say, there's the odd one or two in there, like Rory Jennings. He always praises Conte, doesn't he?
Yeah. I'm sure there is, but a fan base of thousands. I remember them actively booing in the second season because they hated what they were watching, hated it, right? But listen, that's just us. Look, Perchy, talking about our forward lines. Look, today, I'm going to say it. We're going to see Kane, Son and Kulusevski. Is there an argument to say, though, that Danjuma and Richarlison at some point have to be given a start?
I say this all the time. How bad does Son have to play until Richarlison or Danjuma starts a game of football? Listen, and I've said this to you here in chats with you guys as well all the time. I say this all the time. I just want to see a change. Listen, I don't necessarily think that we've got the greatest squad. I think we've got a very strong attacking side, but I think we're very average behind. I think we've got some good players. I don't overhype players. Send me to yourself. But I just want to see a bit of a change. Do you know what? It hasn't worked for Son. He's going to be on the bench today. Or Richarlison's going to go and get 5 games in a row now because I hear this nonsense about how we waste all this money on Richarlison and stuff like that. And I kind of feel really bad for him because people go, he hasn't scored a league goal. When has he had a run of games where you can go and say, okay, if he's played 5 games on the bounce, started 5 games and not scored, I go, do you know what? Maybe you have a point. He's playing cameos for 15 minutes here and there. Yeah, great point here. Why don't we play Richarlison and Kane up top together? Why not?
Yeah,
why don't we just shuffle the pack a bit and go, do you know what? It's not working this way right now. Let's just change it up a bit.
I just want to say sorry. I love James. James Hunter makes me laugh. This is the guy that I always challenge to come on, and he's always got an excuse as to why he can't come on. He said, "Fuck me, if we were on the run Chelsea are, can you imagine the meltdowns you'd be on?" I think the difference is, James, is that Chelsea have had the most injuries in the league and have a new manager, new owners, new technical director of football, 14 new players. I don't see that at Spurs. I've said before, if you go in the summer and bring in 4 or 5 first-team players that walk straight into our 11, I turn around and go, cool, now gel them together. But we haven't. We've got the same team we've had with 1 added in Perchy, right? Basuma didn't start. Longley starts rarely. Spence never started a game. Forster's only playing because Lloris is injured. Edoji's out on loan. Richarlison doesn't get a start. Danjuma doesn't get a start. It's not about a meltdown for what we're doing versus what Chelsea are doing. I don't know what you think, Kuva. I look at the long term. I know fans like James are incapable of thinking past their nose, right? Right, hang on. Sorry, he's annoying me here. Have we not had injuries? 3 weeks ago, they had 11 first-team players missing for the trip to Liverpool. 11. Look at us when we don't have Bentancur and Kulusevski.
And Kane. Not Kane, sorry, Lloris. We miss. They haven't had their first-team goalkeeper for how long in Mendy? We missed Lloris for a couple of games, and we looked at it like, do you know what I mean? I don't think either way, but do you see what I mean? It's mental. Like we think because we've lost Bentancur and Basuma in midfield, we're in dire straits.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kuva, the point I was coming to was, look, you worked with me for a year now. You know my stances. I look a bit further than what's happening right at this second. And when I look at Spurs and what's happening for the next year, I don't see what we're doing. I haven't seen any plan. I haven't seen any change. When I look at Chelsea, when I look at Newcastle, right, when I look at Man United, it's not just Chelsea. When I look at those other clubs, I think, I see what you're doing. I see what you're building. And given a bit of time, they're going to be good. With us, I just think it's going to be the same old thing in the summer. Same old problems. Is that fair?
No, that's fair. I'll pretty much have the same sort of views as you with I'll look at the long term as well. Well, take for example when Pochettino took over. He said it's going to be difficult. First year he needs to assess his players. Second year he needs to get rid of the players he doesn't want and start bringing in some he does. And then from the third year it's going to be then you'll see the style of play and starting to get implemented. He managed it quicker than that. But I do remember that beginning of Posh's term. It was difficult to watch. It really was. But I was okay with it because I knew where the plan was. I knew where we're heading. With Conte, I don't get any of that feeling. I think it's are we going to get worse next season? Are we going to get better? Who knows? Is he even going to be here? No certainties at all of any kind. With Chelsea, I see what they are doing. As said, the long-term contracts, young players coming in, they're talking about overhauling an entire system of play and bringing in an entire new squad. Right. But it's not. It's a squad. It's not a team yet, is it? It's 14 individuals.
But this is what you get, Kuva. First of all, people that don't understand, they've not spent 600 million yet. I think people need to really understand. Talking of finances here, people, big up Sean. People really need to understand that when this is chucked around, Kuva, that Chelsea have spent 600 million. They haven't yet. They haven't yet. The way they've structured their deals is to pay X amount now, and then the rest over the period of 7 to 8 year contracts. Now, I just want to say as well, somebody made a really good point to me yesterday. It's actually an Arsenal fan. One of my close friends was an Arsenal fan, but talks sense. He's not deluded. And he turned around and said, people always talk about, oh, you spent X amount of money, you must be brilliant. But he said, just because you've spent X amount of money on those players doesn't mean they're not human beings that need time to settle, that need to bed in their new surroundings, that need to learn a new manager's way of play. And that for me is where is where I think football fans, we really do get silly. I don't know. I just feel that we get very silly. Chelsea spent 600 million in 2 windows. They must be winning a league right now. It just doesn't work like that, does it?
No, especially when so many of them are that sort of age, they're very young age, so they can get through that loophole and avoid the FFP bit. But I think Shawnee's here now. He was quite right. He's saying a few weeks back, it's a really risky strategy. Because if it doesn't work out with some of those players and they get zero value at the end of coming towards the end of their contracts, I mean, it's a hell of a lot of money pumped in that they're not seeing back. Yeah, it's an interesting one, but like you said, Sav, I agree with it. That is a plan. They have committed to something. They've shown some sort of ambition there. There's a forward-thinking way of doing that. This isn't an instant fix. This is a long-term strategy for them. Yeah. Be interesting to see how it works out, but hopefully they fail because it's Chelsea and we hate
the problem is with their strategy is first and foremost, like I hear what you're saying about the idea of like stretching the payments out, right? So they can stay within FFP. The difficulty is what they might find with the same thing as what happens to Tottenham Hotspur. You got 250 million quid of players out on loan, and the reason why is because you can't find a buyer anywhere in Europe, which is 90% of your marketplace, right? Like you can't, there's nowhere else you can sell a player to other than the Premier League. If you paid 30, 40, 50 million, 60 million, or in Chelsea's case, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110 million for these players, the only league that you can sell them to if it doesn't work out is within the Premier League or to the top 5 clubs, leagues in Europe. But the other 5 of those clubs in Europe or 5 of those leagues in Europe are all bankrupt. That is why they're desperate for the European Super League. If the European Super League was to happen today, and they were all going to get their share of 500-600 million quid a pop, or $1 billion a pop, whatever it is that's going to shape out like, then they've suddenly got money, and then maybe they can afford to pay for some of the players that Tottenham have. But if Chelsea paid top whack for young players to get the players in, if those players don't work out, if 50% of those players don't work out, if let's say Enzo Fernandez has a fucking shit show or Mudryk is a shit show in the Premier League, sometimes it's horses for courses. Very good elsewhere, don't fit the new system, don't fit the new style, don't fit the new formation, don't fit the pace of the game. You trying to sell them on, you can't, because ain't nobody in Europe going to be able to pay 100 million quid for Mudryk or even 50 million quid for Mudryk. So Chelsea are absolutely betting the house on the vast majority of those players working out. And if they don't, Chelsea will be fucked writing down the amortization of those players. And then what's the enthusiasm for Todd Boehly to go again?
No. Sean, absolutely. And I think that Kuva hit the nail on the head. It's a strategy that is, it's all or nothing, right? Sorry to coin the Amazon phrase, but it's one of those that in the next couple of years, everyone turns around and goes, look at them now. They went and bought loads of, bearing in mind, Sean, everyone they've bought, barring I think Koulibaly and one other, are under the age of 24. So they're not going out and buying massively seasoned pros that they'll only get 1 year out of. They're getting
so they'll retain their value. That's the same. It's the same methodology as what Daniel Levy's tried to do, right? You go and buy Brian Hill, you go and buy Emerson Royale, whatever. You're not writing down the value of those players in actual transfer fees as much as if you go and buy a 31-year-old for 40 million quid, because at 32 he's worth half that. Harry Kane, Sonny kind of examples. But if they don't work out even at 22, 23, who is going to be able to pay anything like? And so you loan them out, because even if you were willing to write down the value, like Ndombele, I'm sure Tottenham Hotspur would let Ndombele go for 10 million quid. But Ndombele is under no obligation to accept the deal when he's getting paid 200 grand a week at Tottenham.
Yeah, sure. And the rest.
Wherever he's getting paid, wherever he goes, ain't nobody going to pay him anything like that. So unless they have this magical, like, philosophical moment in their life where they say, you know what, I'll go from 200 grand to 50 grand a week, because if I get out of Tottenham, I can go and resurrect my career and, take a step back to move to. But none of these players are going to do that. Their agents aren't going to advise that. They want to pick up all the money that they're getting every single week. And Tottenham and Chelsea, I think Chelsea are going to find, unless the economy changes or unless the Super League comes in, which changes the dynamic of the economics of European football, I think Chelsea have got 2 years to get Champions League football. And if they don't, they're going to fail this year in all likelihood. If they don't do it next year, I think they're in a fucking world of trouble.
And Sean, when we say fail this year, Boehly and the new technical director of football already said that this year was not a rebuild.
They
really off, didn't they?
Well, they said they didn't need to set forth the target. They've got the money for that.
Yeah, sure. But next year,
yeah, they have to get top 4. Next year, I think they'll be right up there challenging, because once these players have had time to bed in, plus they're bringing in Nkunku, who is a superstar. He's a phenomenal footballer.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Perchy.
Just quickly. He's a phenomenal football player in Germany, right?
He's a phenomenal football player. Watch him play for France. Watch him play in Germany. It doesn't matter.
There's a lot, but like there's a risk that because the game in the Premier League is a little bit different. I'm not saying you're wrong, but like, to me, I just think that whilst I agree with you, Savva, that when you're right, and whoever was saying, your Arsenal mate was saying it, it takes time for all these new languages. They're all coming in at the same time. They all need to embed into London, like sort of gentrify themselves into the acclimate themselves into the new life of London. It's disruptive and it takes time. And so you should expect them to go again next year. But if they don't, or on another level, you've already got Man United that are probably going to go and spend $1 billion or whatever in the fucking summer, right? You're going to have City, you're going to have Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
If they still don't quite get into the top 4 or top 5, I think it would be next year, then whether Nkuku's there or not, if they don't, it is a risk, right? Like it's a probability, but it's not a guarantee.
Everything's a risk. Everything's a risk. But I think, like what Kuva said earlier, what they're trying to do is, or what they're doing is, they're actually doing a rebuild in like 2 to 3 windows, as opposed to a long-term project. Because Bowley, let's be fair, by all accounts, is a businessman that succeeds. He wants success, but realizes that Chelsea aren't in that position to do it now. Now, the difference for me is, I think when you speak to a lot of football fans, like, sorry, I'm going to call out Mo for his awful opinions, right? When you've got football fans like Mo that think you have to win right now or you're awful, there are so many. Look, are we saying that whoever doesn't win the Premier League, everyone else is awful? Like, do you know what I mean? If Pep Guardiola doesn't win the league this year, he's crap. Right, 4 out of 5 titles, but if he doesn't win this year, he's crap. It can't be that. Chelsea were a club massively in decline, the same way Arsenal were. You've got to build. Those clubs are building. Perchy, I know you wanted to go in on this comment. Sorry, I like Mo, but I mean, if we're just going to say Potter's terrible because he lost to bottom of the league Southampton, then shouldn't Conte have been sacked for losing to Moura?
Well, exactly. This is the point, and this is the point I want to break down. Potter's I want to break this down for a reason, because this comment, Mo, I know you're in the chat, and listen, I've seen some of the other stuff, but Potter's a terrible manager. Let's just break down what he's done, by the way. He took a team from the 2nd division in Sweden, got them to win the league, took them to the Emirates, and won against Arsenal with a squad that had nothing of it on a budget compared to any Premier League squad. Point one. He then goes to Swansea, completely rebuilds that team, and takes them. If I'm right in saying he got them promoted, I might be wrong, but someone will probably confirm in there. He's gone to Brighton and worked under a system at Brighton where it didn't matter if they sold their best player, they got somebody in through the back. They got somebody in straight away that was then went on and they went and sold for 3, 4, 5 times better. Okay. So how can we consider Potter's a bad manager? Because he's gone to Chelsea, by the way. He's gone to Chelsea and they've gone and thrown him loads of players. Let's be frank and honest. Did Graham Potter want all these players? Probably not. But what they've done is they've gone, do you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to build you with a load of young players straight away. Yes, we don't care about this season, Chelsea. They've already written the season off. They don't really care. They will find the best 11 that he finds out of that team for next season. They'll do. Listen, Chelsea operate differently as a fan base anyway. They look at the long term. They look at the short term. They're doing crap. They've got a mentality like that. They're now actually working under a different way of thinking. Is actually they've got to work long term. That's why Graham Potter's in there. And to say just because he lost to Southampton in the bottom of the league, guys, let's just remember we will talk about an elite manager that we've got. We lost. Look who we've lost to this season. Let's just be frank and honest. And second of all, we haven't played West Ham yet. So how bad does Antonio Conte? And yes, he's not going to be there. But how bad does it look if we go and lose to West Ham, who are third bottom of the league?
Perch, can I ask you a question, mate? Can I ask you a question? I've just come off of a channel that's like a rivals channel, right? So top 6 banter kind of stuff. And we were getting to the Tottenham game, and we were talking about the top 4 race. And they were saying all these guys. There was a fan from United, there was 2 United fans, City fans. There was a Newcastle fan, and Arsenal fans, etc. on there. And I said, well, they all made the argument that Liverpool. Oh, there was Liverpool fan on there as well. They said that Liverpool were going to finish top 4, and I was like, how confident are you? And they were all, with the exception of the Liverpool fan, like saying that Liverpool were guaranteed basically to finish top 4. And I said, why? And they said, well, because Newcastle and Tottenham are dog shit, and so Liverpool on the way up right now. And I was like, what about Brentford and Brighton and Fulham? There's 6 points that separates 4th from 9th. Maybe you exclude Chelsea, right? There's 6 points in it. Brighton have played the best football, in my opinion, of 5 of those 6 teams this season. Fulham are playing good football. Brentford are undefeated. Brentford have got the best form in the Premier League, apart from Manchester City over the last 6. I think they're undefeated at home since October. And these guys were all laughing at me going, I can't believe you're putting Brighton and Brentford into the top 4 race. Like, am I mad to think that the top 4 race is between, in their opinion, they were like, it's Liverpool's to lose and that Newcastle and Tottenham are going to decline. And there's no point in even discussing Fulham or Brentford or Brighton. Is that, I was like, I think you're so disrespectful.
Massively. And I put it in the chat earlier, and I said it's a battle between about 5 or 6 teams to finish in that 4th place. Because, and this is what I said about this. And I keep saying about Potter not being an elite manager. No, part of that for a second. But we have got an elite manager at our football club who at the moment is having to battle with teams like Brentford and Brighton and Fulham, with no disrespect, to finish into a Champions League place. I expected this manager to put us into a title race because everyone said he's an elite manager, so I expected at that level. We're competing, and as I say, you're spot on. I think Brighton have every right to have an opportunity to finish in the top 4. They may fall away, but they're
in the conversation, though, right?
Of course they are. I said anyone between Newcastle and Liverpool, and even then, you could still put Chelsea in there.
Yeah, that's why I made the point, and I got bantered out of the fucking room. They were like, "You're saying Chelsea in the top 4 race?" I was like, "No, they're less likely because they're a bit of a drift." But if they were to suddenly click into gear like Liverpool was starting to do, then they're not that far behind.
The thing is nobody in that conversation between Chelsea and Newcastle have gone and won 3, 4, 5 on a row out of nowhere. Yeah, one team that does it. There'll be one team that does it, and they'll be the one that finishes 4th because there's so much inconsistency. Liverpool. And I think Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to be the team that does it. By the way, Liverpool will be the team that does it. But someone made. I think it was you, Savva, made a great point earlier in chat saying that the level this year in the Premier League. We all talk about the Premier League being the greatest league in the world. I think the quality's been terrible this season.
I agree. I think it's been shocking.
And this is what I made the point about earlier on the channel, is that I think Antonio Conte has got a free pass because everyone around him has been terrible. If Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle started winning more games of football, I don't even think we'd be talking about getting top 4 this season because I think we'd be so far off it. And it's because of teams like that have fallen away this season that have only allowed us to even have an option. I'm shocked that if we win today, we'll be in the 4th place at the end of the weekend. I think that's balmy because I don't think we've been good enough at all.
The thing is, let me bring Kuva in on this. I mean, this is the crazy thing, Kuva. If we do, when we do go into the top 4, but again, I think it depends what type of football fan you are. I'm the type of football fan that I don't change my opinion week in, week out on a manager, on a player, on a squad. For me, I have to see it change and evolve over a matter of months, a year, seasons, right? Same way I don't call everybody world class. If we go top 4 tonight, all of a sudden everyone, it's brilliant, we're top 4, it's great. It's still going to be this god-awful football that we watch every week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Without doubt. I'm sorry, just going to add on to the debate about the likes of Brighton and Fulham not in the top 4 race.
Or Brentford.
I don't think they are because they're having relatively good seasons and they've lost 7 or 8 games. Liverpool and Chelsea are having bad seasons by their standards, and they've only lost 7 or 8 games as well. That's the difference. They have an extra gear to go up. Brighton and Fulham just don't. I don't see them really figuring it.
If Brighton deserved to beat Fulham yesterday, right? Fulham were lucky, if you watched the game, but Brighton were by far the better team all afternoon. They ended up losing the game. Brighton, these guys on this channel were saying Liverpool are almost guaranteed to finish top 4 for kind of the same reasons you're saying there, Kuva, and I respect it. But Brighton is 6 points behind Newcastle with a game in hand. They should have beaten Fulham yesterday. They didn't. If they had done, they'd be 3 points behind Newcastle with a game in hand. And they played most of the teams that they have to play that are above them, they've played away from home. So they're bringing Liverpool to their place. They're bringing Arsenal to their place. They're bringing City to their place. They haven't got to go to those places anymore. And I think the same with Newcastle. I'm not sure about Tottenham. Have Tottenham played at Brighton? Yeah, we played at Brighton, right, already?
Yeah, we won 1-0.
Yeah, but
sure, would it be fair to say
I want Brighton to fall away, but at the same time, I just think it's so disrespectful to say that they're not involved in the top 4 conversation.
Oh, if we're not going to get in the top 4, I'd love Brighton to do it.
Is,
It'd be
is it fair to
fantastic.
say though, guys? Is it? I mean, Kuva. If we look at it, I mean, I think you can all see the league table there, right? Look, I always say, and I get taken the piss out for saying this. I always say, cream rises to the top, right? The top teams inevitably find a way; they get through it. There's very rarely a shock for top four. I don't know if anyone can think of one off the top of their head. I mean, there hasn't really been many shocks. Leicester won the league, shock. Other than that, I think Everton maybe 18, 19 seasons ago crept into that top four.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's normally the big boys. Now, when you look at this table now, for me, it's geared up for the same to be happening. I think Arsenal, Man City are a shoo-in. I think Man United are going to be a shoo-in.
Yeah.
If they're kicking off in 13 minutes. If they beat Leicester, they go 10 points clear of us in fifth.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big gap, right? Now, I agree with you, Sean. I think it's great that Fulham, Brighton, Brentford are all there or thereabouts. Question for me is, do they have enough to stick 4 or 5 wins in a row together to get over that line? I don't
think Fulham do. I think Fulham are I think Fulham are like got themselves in deep water, and I think they're gonna. I know they won yesterday, and fair play to them. But whilst I appreciate their managerial style, I don't think they have the talent in their squad to be able to sustain it. But I think Brighton do. And Brentford haven't lost at home since like in 4 months. 4 months, something like that.
It's games like yesterday, isn't it? It's games like if you look yesterday. I looked at the league table. I think we talked about it in the group earlier in our WhatsApp group in the day. You say, if Brighton win today, look how close they are. If Brentford win today, look how close they are. But they just keep, when it's that moment to go there, they just drop. They're like a smaller version of Tottenham.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying that they will finish top 4. I'm just saying that to suggest that they're not involved in the conversation.
No, I agree.
I think is so disrespectful.
I completely agree with you. Look, I don't think they will, but in a way, wouldn't it be refreshing? Wouldn't it be lovely to see Fulham come from the Championship to Champions League in 1 year, right? And what I did notice from looking at that table was when people keep telling me, Sean, about how bad our players are, right? And how much Conte's not been given tools. And yet he's 1 point above a Fulham team that were promoted last year. He's 4 points above Brighton, who have got 2 games in hand on us, right? He's 4 points above Liverpool, who are meant to have had the worst season ever, and they've got a game in hand on us. And he's 4 points above Brentford, who I don't even want to know what they've spent to put their team together. Doesn't that put it in perspective, Sean, as to we talk about how bad our club is, but look at all these other clubs with less resources right next to us.
Yeah, but I again, I don't always think it comes down to
Spend.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It doesn't. It comes down to how you spend it, right? It's not
Of course,
what you've got;
yeah.
it's how you spend it. Like I think Tottenham might be like one of those people that like win the lottery and then go and but keep their tacky lifestyle from before they had it, and they don't know how to spend it. I think we spend it really, really badly, consistently, and then we're stuck with the leftovers. I think that. Listen, Brighton are a model. Leicester were a good model. Difficult to see how they're, and maybe Brighton will eventually kind of feel like, like that whole kind of thing will piffle out a little bit over time. It's difficult to be able to identify young talent and then just always sell the best, bring the next one through. Brighton are doing it very well right now, but Leicester were doing it very well 3 or 4 years ago, and Leicester now kind of worked their way back down the league again, haven't they? So. But look, you can take advantage of certain situations. Listen, again, to me, right now, you look at De Zerbi's football at Brighton. I watched their entire game yesterday, and I was like, it would be awesome to be a Brighton fan right now. Like, you're punching well above your weight traditionally. You've got great football. You've lost your best players. You lost Kukurea. You lost Bissouma. And you lost...
Mopay, Ben White. Trossard
as well. I wouldn't say Mopay. Mopay's absolutely awful. But
but for them, he was. He was.
Exactly. Dan Burn's a good example. They saw all of their good players. They churn through players like a Starbucks employee roster. And yet they still seem to have the next talent to come through. Caicedo, Mitoma, They have this ability to do it. Whether it's sustainable, I don't know. Because eventually, you know, like people were saying in the comments, like you said, the cream does rise, and eventually, you know, things water finds its own level. But if you were a Brighton fan right now, you'd be over the moon. And even though they lost yesterday, they played brilliant football throughout that game.
Agreed.
And they're a team to have a little bit less disrespectful. Like I say, I just was sitting there going, I don't understand why everyone is pumping their chest saying Liverpool was so good. Liverpool have got the same points as Brighton. Yet you're saying that Brighton have got no chance and that Liverpool are guaranteed to finish top 4. I think that's it's mathematically insulting to me.
Mathematically, yes, but I think when you look at what Liverpool have got available to them, and again, this is why what I was saying earlier about Chelsea with injuries. When you look at Liverpool, right, in the last 3 weeks, they've got back Andy Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Fabinho, Henderson, Firmino, Jota. This is a lot of players to have out at one time, and we're not talking fringe players like Ryan Sessegnon. We're talking first team players that helped them nearly do a quadruple last year.
Yeah.
So now they're all fit.
So are you saying then that Liverpool are favourites for top 4 right now?
I don't know about favourites. Let's be fair. Tottenham or Newcastle should be. If we're saying City, Arsenal, and United are the 3, right? I think we all agree that those 3 will get it.
Yeah.
Kuva, do you agree that those 3 will definitely take 3 of the 4?
Yeah, you'd imagine so.
So for me, I still think, and I said this at the beginning of the season before anyone calls me a flip-flop, right? I said at the beginning of the year, Spurs will finish 4th. With the firepower we have got compared to Newcastle, compared to these other clubs, I believe we should be taking that 4th place. Hence why if we don't, I think Conte's done a very bad job.
Yeah.
But Liverpool are now in a position where that win yesterday was the difference between them being 6 points off top 4 to Newcastle and 9 points off top 4. Do you know what I mean? It was a huge game, and I just got a feeling they're going to make a run. Kuva, who do you think is going to take it?
Well, 4th place.
4th place.
Yeah, still Liverpool. They just look like the club that's, I think, most likely to string together those sort of 9 out of 10 wins sort of thing. I don't see it with us. We're way too inconsistent. I just feel they've got that experience. Well, they've got that experience of coming through when the chips are down. We don't. As for the others, Chelsea, complete rebuild, forget it. And as much as I admire Brighton and Fulham, I don't see them with having the resources. So it's Liverpool or Brentford, yeah.
To put it in perspective, Kuva, right? If you look at the form table in the Premier League, there is only one team in the last 5 games that have won more than 3 games. Like normally at this stage of the season, you have 3 or 4 teams that are on these great runs, and this is what I'm saying about the quality. Do you know who that team is?
Brentford have got 12 points from the last 6.
Not Forest.
Man City have got 13 points from the last 6. That's the best form, isn't it?
So I'm looking at, sorry, my app here does 5 in 5s. It does 5, 10, 15, right? In case anyone didn't know how multiples of 5 worked. I didn't realise that. So in the last 5 games, Man City are top of the form table with 10. Then you've got Brentford and Wolves with 9. Brighton, Man U, Nottingham Forest with 8. And then everyone else is 7, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, 5. There's no one at the moment.
No one's stealing it. No one's putting.
No one's running away.
No. So I think it will be Liverpool. I think it should be us, but I think it will be Liverpool. There you go. Perchy, what you saying?
I think echoing everything I said. I think we should be on this resources that we have. We should, with the strikers attackers we have. We should be winning. And the thing is this is what I also put in the chat. I was like, this season you don't even have to be amazing. You've kind of put the form and kind of echoed what I'm going to say. You don't even have to be amazing. You've got to just be good at the moment to get 4th place. As I said, Newcastle don't lose many games, but they don't win many games. And as I said, I kind of echo it should be us, but I think it'll be Liverpool. And just to sort of echo on something you said about, I don't even understand how much Brentford has spent. Guess how much they spent this summer on 3 players? They spent £14 million on 3 different players. One from the Championship, 2 from Italy. Sorry,
14 or
Damsgaard,
40?
Hmm?
14 or 40?
No, £40 million. They spend
40.
£15 million on Aaron Hickey from Bologna, 15 million on Damsgaard from Sampdoria, and Keane Lewis Porter for about 16 million quid from Hull. And they got a couple of frees in Strakosha and Ben Mee. That's what they've signed this season. And this is the point when I say I kind of go full circle again. It's like, how are they managing to do it? Like they just create. And some, I can't remember who it was. Someone just put in the chat as well about Brighton. If they lose all their main players, they'll end up like Southampton. Brighton lose their main players every single season and somehow pick a gem out of South America or pick a gem out of X, Y, and Z, and they go again. It's like a conveyor belt at Brighton.
Yeah, well, that was Leicester's story as well, though, for a long period, and eventually you run out. Like that ability to identify talent time and time again and recycle it runs its course. At some point, like people were saying, cream rises, money rises, you have to spend the money, and Brighton don't do it. But for the time being, Brighton are there. I just think that they're still part of the conversation.
Of course they
being
are.
there. And I think that, if Brighton can transition into the next phase of their growth, where they can become a stable commodity that can go and afford to pay the 50, 60 million quid players like Tottenham are doing now, then they need to probably get into the Champions League. And there's never a better season, to Savva's point, looking at the form table, there's never a better season than to do it like this. It's bang. It's a wide open. The story, there's so many stories that are left untold about this season. It's going to be fascinating on both at the top, the middle, and the bottom end of the table. I think it's a brilliant season.
Just quickly before we carry on, Michael's putting Messi because PSG were looking like they were going to lose their fourth game in a row, and then the little maestro scored a winner to make it 4-3 in the 95th minute, I believe.
Wow.
So there's 217 of you and only 54 likes. Come on, people, smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. We are now only 237 away from hitting our target for the year. So please smash that like button. Kuva, I'm going to come to you. Let's focus back on today's game for the last 10 minutes of the show.
Oh, God, do we have to?
Yeah, we do, unfortunately. We do. Kuva, what are you predicting today and what 11 are you predicting?
Honestly, couldn't care less at the moment.
I know that, but
just,
for the sake of the show.
We just Kane up front and anybody able to just lob it up at him. That's it. So what's going to be more? Romero, Dyer, Davies, Forster picks himself at the moment. I'm hoping to see Porro, but I think it's going to be. Well, actually, no. Let's go for it. Porro. Well, Porro and Perisic as wing backs. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be Højbjerg. I hope it will be Basuma, but rumour is it's probably going to be Skip. I can imagine that.
You mean Scrap
against
Sarr?
Sorry, yeah.
There's a rumour it's going to be Skip instead of Sarr.
Yeah, I think from what I've been reading,
Paul
it's
O'Keefe.
going to be Skip.
Yes, I mean, take your pick of whether that's true. Well, he's got 50-50 chance, hasn't he?
No, it's hilarious though. Like he's like, this is just my prediction, and it gets retweeted by aggregators, and people lose their minds in the comments. Why does everyone care? It's just a guy's prediction.
Yeah, he's just literally picking
it's not based on any fact.
Yeah, he's right.
It had like 99 retweets of people going, no, not Skip. Come on.
Well, it's still a possibility though, isn't it? Never know. He's 50-50 chance on that, but I'd imagine it's going to be Sarr. I think Sarr's just a better quality footballer, to be honest. So
the front three, Kuva?
Front three, as it always is. It's going to be Son, Kane, Kulusevski.
We won't give anyone else a game, will we? And then what we'll do is we'll give Richarlison and Danjuma 10 minutes at the end of the game, and then when they've not done anything, people will use it as a stick to beat them with.
And if we're getting spanked, we'll pull Porro off and Emerson Royale will be on to save the day.
It made me laugh, right? I think last season, Sean, I'll come to you with this. Last season, the whole big thing was that Conte said he looks at his bench and then looks back because he's got nothing on his bench. This year, you've got, especially in the striking area, you've got Danjuma, you've got Richarlison, you've got, Lucas as a third option. Yet, still the same three start every game, no matter about their form, Sean. the same three play 70, 75, 80 minutes of the 90, no matter how bad they're playing in the game, then what people are doing, I'm noticing more and more, is instead of saying how badly Kulusevski and Son are playing, we go, well, what did Richarlison do in 10 minutes to show he should start? For me, this is all a bit backwards, don't you think? Is he gone?
He's having a long think about it.
Yeah, he's really focused on that one.
Yeah, you've stumped him there.
I mean, Perchy or Kuva, either one of you, isn't that the case? Isn't that what we're doing every game now?
That's the problem, though. We as I said, I want us just to see a bit of change, just change up a little bit. As I said, well, how can anybody belittle Richarlison and Danjuma when they don't even get games? As I said, how are we meant to expect a player to even settle at this football club if he makes cameo appearances here and there? It's like, even when we're playing teams like Preston, Richarlison doesn't even start games.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? It's like, these are sort of games I expect him to go and play. Like, for example, I expected a Richarlison to come in against Leicester, for argument's sake. So we got Kane in the Champions League. What's the point of buying a player for 60 million quid if he plays cameo appearances? And then we've got everyone going, well, we scored no league goals this season. How can he? He's playing 10 minutes here and there.
Yeah, I mean, Kuva, what do you think of this? I mean, look, at some point, surely Richarlison or Danjuma has to get a game. Like, I don't mean 10 minutes, like a game. Well, surely to see what they can do.
What's Stellini been like for making changes? You know, how's he good? How early does he bring on the substitutes? That could be a factor.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, if we're struggling, you know, coming up to half time or something, suppose we're a couple down, for heaven forbid, but it's possible. And you know, nothing's working. Why not bring both of them on? You really got to change it up, haven't you? I mean, how likely is it? Conte's there, not very likely. I don't know with Stellini. So let's be pleasantly optimistic, shall we? Nah, forget it. It's not happening.
I'll tell you what, I'd absolutely love to see the lineup today, and you see Kane and Richie up front together with Kulu in the hole, or just something. You know, something to make me go, okay, let's see how this works. But
yeah, drop Dyer, go with your attacking wing backs, Kane and Richie up front, with Kulusevski on the right and Sonny on the left.
Sod it.
Just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw Redknapp say during the week before the Milan game, like, some of these teams are poor. He said, when Spurs are the better team, run at them, go at them, stop sitting back and trying to counter, go at them. You're going to concede, we know that, so go at them.
Exactly. Redknapp in.
What's that?
Redknapp in. I'd happly take him back at the moment.
All day. All day I'd take Redknapp over this crap we watch.
Is he a good tactician? No. Has he got a great sort of system of play? No. But he can bring the best out of players. He can give them that freedom and belief in themselves to play some football. And that's what I want to see.
I mean, realistically though, guys, I do think we'll win today, right? I do. And if we don't, maybe I'm getting the best of both worlds here for myself. If we don't, I think it's shocking. I don't want to hear Chelsea lost to Southampton. I don't care about that. That's a team in no form. That's a team that don't have centre forwards. Don't you always find it though? Among our fan base, excuses are always made because a team is doing worse than us. Right,
All the
time, everything. Therefore, fifth place finish is good because that's what we should be expecting. Bullshit.
And it's always a team that's doing worse just for now, but a team that regularly wins trophies. Yeah. You know, like I think like what we're seeing with Chelsea and Liverpool as well for most of this season. I know we think they probably will rise, but it's great because we're above them, with no regard to the fact that between them they've just won multiple leagues, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, League Cups in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
It's not just us either, is it? You look at the likes of Everton in particular and Villa. That's two clubs that should be up pushing for trophies each year.
Mm.
Yeah.
They're huge clubs. Have been absolutely mismanaged over the years. Villa have even suffered relegation. It shouldn't be happening, that kind of thing. Sunderland aren't even in the division now, but I mean, they should be up as well.
Yeah.
The big clubs run badly. Just because we've done it a little bit better than some of the others does not mean we've been doing well.
Yeah.
And the trophy cabinet will back that up, unless you're an Audi fan.
Well, I'm just going to look just quickly while I look this up. Please, people, smash the subscribe button. If I can get another 5 subscribers in the next 5 minutes before we end the show, I'd be internally grateful. Internally, eternally, and internally, both work. Please smash the subscribe button. I just want to have a look at West Ham's form here, Kuva. So if we look at West Ham, they are bottom 3. They have scored 19 goals in 22 games. I won't talk about the defence because it's better than ours. And in their last 4 games, I mean, look, they've drawn with Chelsea, they've drawn with Newcastle, beat Derby 2-0, beat Everton 2-0, lost to Wolves, beat Brentford in the cup. Before that, there was no win in 6. I mean, this is not a great West Ham team, is it?
No.
And as you said earlier, they've got more injuries than us, so we can't even use the injuries as an excuse if we lose today.
Yeah, it's bad. Look, guys, I do want to wrap the show up in just a minute, but Kuva, give me a score. What's the score going to be, mate?
I'm going with a really terrible game and West Ham nicking it 1-0. It's just the way I feel about it at the moment. We should win, but this is typical us. We will just put in a bad performance. The only things we've got going for us is we're at home and Conte's not here. That's the way I see it. We do not do anything that excites me whatsoever anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, Perchy, Kuva's going for a 1-0 defeat to West Ham. What are you going for? You did say West Ham, didn't you, Kuva?
Yeah. I think we'll win today. I think we'll win 3-1. That's how I'm going that. But I think I just wanted to pull up on a point about the whole Chelsea thing. It's brilliant how our fans want to laugh at Chelsea today, or yesterday. Sorry. Who have we got to play after today? Oh yeah, here we go. Let's maybe not laugh too early because it's the sort of thing that happens for us as a fan base. We all laugh at Chelsea, but then they're going to go and beat us next week. But listen, I think we'll win today. We should win today.
You know me. I don't. It's why I don't belittle teams. I do not belittle teams because we look really silly. Like everyone doing all these Arteta out songs when Arteta's a fraud because they lost to Man City, the best team in the country. Then a few days later, Arsenal win, City don't, and it's like, okay, they could be 5 points clear again.
Yeah.
Look, Kuva, I mean, between us, we've been around a long time in football. A month, for example, is a long time. A few weeks ago, Liverpool were dead, no chance of top 4. Now, all of a sudden, everyone's going, hang on, they're coming back. A few weeks ago, Newcastle were a dead cert for top 4. Now, they can't buy a win. They just get draws and obviously the defeat yesterday. We don't learn, I feel, our fan base. I feel we don't learn. We're very reactionary, and that's why I always keep my feet on the ground through it all. I don't know if that's me being a bad fan or what, but I don't see beating West Ham, for example. Everyone will be going mad later. I think that should be a given. That shouldn't be a reason for me to suddenly start celebrating. But hey, that's just me. Anything you guys want to say before we wrap up the show?
Any good films to watch during the match?
And Sean has joined as I'm about to end the show. Welcome back, Sean. Literally,
sorry, my internet dropped.
That's all right. Literally, Sean, give us a prediction before we go. Score
3-1.
prediction.
3-1 Tottenham.
Same as Perchy. I think we'll win 2-0. And listen, I want to be right. I want to be right so much on this one because if we lose, I think it's just going to get even more toxic. Guys, Sonny, before we go, let's talk about Sonny. Surely, if he starts today, he's got to score today. He's got to do something, isn't he?
Well, he's a defensive winger, stroke midfielder nowadays, so wouldn't really expect it, to be honest. I think West Ham are more likely to sit back a bit and smother us and then hit us on the break, set piece, do to us what we do to other teams.
Shawnee, Sonny, I mean, I heard people the other day after the Milan game saying they thought he played well.
No, he didn't play well in that game at all.
I don't know what people are watching with him. I think he looks absolutely
He hasn't played well. Absent 30 minutes of this season, he hasn't played well once. Not once. He's trying. He's trying more than he did before, but he's not getting there. But those comments that he made that came out yesterday about like, oh, I'm I understand the fans being frustrated with me. I'm frustrated with myself. All those comments, they reek of someone who is trying too hard to correct it. And as a consequence, he's becoming selfish. Like he's so desperate to get the monkey off his back that his thought processes are, like out of sync with what's good for the team, what's good for good decision-making generally. That's why there's problems with the chemistry between the front three right now. He's predictably unpredictable with what he does. And it's a nightmare. He can't start today. If he starts today, then I give up all hope for Antonio Conte, because I know that this team is picked by Conte. It might be managed by Stellini, but it's picked by Conte. If Sonny's on the starting 11, then I lose all hope.
You know what will happen today. If we win, it will be, will Conte pick this team? If we lose, it will be, well, Conte wasn't here. You just know how it's going to work. Perchy, I want to wrap Kulu into this as well. I know Kulu's not been that bad all season, but definitely since the return of the World Cup. Is he suffering from injury? Is he suffering from not having any football during that World Cup time? What he looks gone. He looks shot to pieces.
Both of them out wide. But just to sort of reiterate what Sean was saying, in the sense, it's just that the part I don't get is Sonny looks like he's working too hard. Exactly, and I agree. And the similar sense with Kulusevski in a sense. But the problem is this is where a manager steps in and says, "Do you know what? I'm taking you out the firing line for a few games." But he doesn't do that. And this is what really frustrates me as a fan watching it, going, how bad does Son and Kulusevski have to play to not start a game of football? And it's like, then people go, what's the point having Richarlison, Danjuma on the bench and stuff if these players aren't ever going to start games of football? I think they both should be dropped. Or you drop one or the other. But
basically, there's no penalty for playing badly, is there, with some players in our team?
100%.
I don't subscribe, guys, to this either that, they just should play because they're better than Danjuma and Richarlison. If that was the case...
Danjuma in a Tottenham shirt isn't... You can't judge Danjuma in a Tottenham... You can judge Danjuma pre-Tottenham, but we don't know what Danjuma in a Tottenham shirt is really capable of. And he's played, a grand total of 60 minutes and got one goal on a goal per minute basis.
You can barely do it for Richarlison, to be honest. Yeah. Because he's hardly played games of football.
People were saying to me the other night, but when he came on, he didn't do anything. And I thought, what do you mean? When he came on against Milan, when they're sitting back for dear life and winning 1-0, I just don't know. Guys, listen, I'm going to wrap up the show, but how can Alex, I'm ending the show.
He just wants to drop in and box office somebody. He wants to put
Go on, Alex.
Oh, I got it the wrong time. Okay, don't worry about it, though, man.
Alex, give us your prediction while you're here, mate.
I think we'll lose.
You think we're going to lose?
I think we'll lose. Yeah, I've got more hope of us beating Chelsea than us beating West Ham. I think West Ham will play defensively, and I think the players that are out. It depends on if Kane's on his game as well for me. Yeah. So I think that's another thing as well. One thing I have to say, and I've got so much abuse for this. I think it's an absolutely bang average league for quality. For quality, I think it's been like that for quite a while, and I think we discussed it on it, Savva, and I've got dog's abuse about it. They're saying I don't know what, I've got no football knowledge. Me saying this, and I'm like, and someone actually come up to me and said because of XG, they said XG proves it. I'm like, literally give me a masterclass on it. I'm like, oh gosh.
Do you know what?
But the point you were making about XG on that voice note was was different to the idea that the league has been rubbish because and then XG isn't the case. The point you were making on that WhatsApp message that you left was that about a specific game, right? You were saying about a specific game and that you thought that whoever the team was rubbish, and then the guy was saying that the XG on that particular team wouldn't suggest that's the case, and you wouldn't accept it.
Quite right not to.
Can I just quickly, before you answer that, Alex? Right, do you know what? I use an app called Flash Score. I don't know if anyone else uses that app to get the results. And I'll tell you what, I'm literally going to go off it because I've always loved their stuff. And I don't know if you can see this, but now the first metric they've changed it to is expected goals. The first metric now is expected. It used to be possession, attempts at goal, shots on goal, blocked shots, free. Now we've got expected goals. Sorry, that was just me moaning because I hate it. Alex, what do you have to say? Why is the league so poor? I agree with you, but why is the league so poor?
I just think that this quality-wise, you don't have players. I think players work to a system. I think it's very systematic. I think the coaches are so important to the club now. I think the players are just the cogs. And I think proof of it is a player like Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish could have been another Gascoigne. Yeah? He goes Man City, he's just turned into another system player. I think it sums it up with the World Cup. Who was the best player in the World Cup, by the way? It wasn't an attacking player. It wasn't Messi. It wasn't anybody.
Yes, it was.
No. But he ended up winning something. But the player that everyone was talking about was Amrabat, who was a defensive midfielder.
Hang on, Alex. Hang on. Hang on. Listen,
that's not true.
Hang on. I get where you're coming from, but you've got Lionel Messi that won Player of the Tournament and won the World Cup for Argentina, playing some of his best football ever, and you're saying Amrabat.
I'm only saying. Listen, I might be just saying shortening the route, but at the end of the day, it's about opinions. As far as I'm concerned, I wasn't really that interested in the World Cup as well. But my judgment from what everyone was banging on about, because this guy was a reject in Florentine, no one really thought about him, to be honest with you. And then they were waxing lyrical about this guy. They said this guy is so good, and he's the defensive midfielder.
He was one of the few players that shone from the World Cup. He wasn't. People weren't talking about him more than they were about other superstars.
Well, for me, I think maybe because I've got to thank my boy Savva, and I've got to thank Henry, and I've got to even thank maybe even Stelios as well, because I just think for realness, I think you've just really opened me up a little bit. Maybe also the fact that I'm going back to the stadium as well, so I see things as well. I think some of these people, and I'm not having a go at people because I know it's not affordable, but a lot of people watch it on TV. And they're and they don't think they really realize if you don't actually go to the game, because I think people are trying to take the emotion out of it. Someone said to me in the comments, some people in the comments were saying, "Oh, this guy's not a pundit," and I was like,
Alex, whilst there's a massive difference between watching the game live to watching the game on TV, but one is not better than the other. Like they're just entirely different. When you're watching the game live in the stadium, you have the authority over where your eyes are. So you can, if you're interested, you can go and examine what someone's doing off the ball more than you can when you're watching it on TV, because the authority over what you see is decided by ITV or BT or Sky or whatever else. But that's not to say that you get to see everything when you're watching it live. And it also depends on where you're sitting in the stadium. If you're sitting on the halfway line, then you get to see everything 50-50, but you don't get to see anything or either goal end up close. If you're sitting on one end of the stadium, then you might get to see things that are in one goal mouth, very, very sort of tactile, but you don't get to see anything at all down the other end. So there's a difference. To suggest that just because you're going to the stadium, you get a better view. You don't get a better understanding. You get a different understanding of the game. And it depends on where your attention span is and how much interest you have in certain things in the moment, because you don't have that ability to do that when you're watching it on TV.
I think that's the same thing when you're watching it on TV though. And I think with the stadium, because let me say this right now, you can see absolutely everything. When you're in certain places in the stadium, you can see absolutely everything. Yeah, that's why I say what I'm saying. I know certain stadiums is not very good.
You also
I
don't
do
get to see any
understand.
replay. You don't get to see any replays.
No,
watching it
yeah, I
live.
agree with you. Certain replays you can't, but I will say this: you see a lot more than you'll see in in there, and I think you see and you get the emotion side of things as well, which I think
But that's
with
not always
certain.
a good thing, Alex. But I tell you why I
You
don't
get
think
wrapped
the
up in that
emotion.
then.
I
Yeah.
don't. I tell you why I don't think the emotion side at the stadium is always a good thing. Right? Bearing in mind, I've been going for donkey's years, but won't put any more money into it now because I all these people that tell me they want Levy out, but then go and spend loads of money with him. Anyway, that's just my feeling, right? My point is this: when I'm watching the game at home, let's say an incident happens in a penalty box, and every fan at the stadium goes handball, and I'm sitting there at home going, that was never handball because I can see it from the camera there, right? That's the problem. The emotion can get so much in the stadium that the actual thing you're seeing isn't what's actually happened, and that's why sometimes when people, when I've been at a game and messaged someone back at home and said, "Can't see the other end of the ground, was that a penalty?" and they've gone, "Absolutely not." But the whole of 20,000 people in my stand are going, "That's a clear penalty. He clearly took him out," right? So I get it, mate. I get it. Emotion for me is emotion can swing both ways. It can be better for your experience, and I think it can also cloud judgment of what is truly happening. But listen, for me, it's not about whether fans go or not. At the end of the day, only X amount of people can go, right?
That's not having a go. That's not having a go at fans that can't
No, I
go.
know
By
you're
the
not.
way,
I know you're not.
I got to jump. I got to jump. Sorry, got to jump.
Yeah.
Love you.
No
Cheers,
worries,
guys.
no worries.
See you soon.
Guys,
Yeah.
I am gonna end the show. Alex, you need to leave and go to the ground, right?
Yeah. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. Yeah. So
I was
yeah.
going to say one thing quickly to big up Alex when he said about Amrabat. I didn't watch the World Cup at all, but I remember everybody was on about him for ages.
He did.
Yeah.
He did very well. But do you know the thing for me though, Alex? So what I would say about that is, the whole Amrabat situation. I thought Amrabat did very well, but as you said, in a certain style. Like for anyone to watch Morocco, right? Yeah, they're going to get all these plaudits for what they did. Morocco had no interest in attacking. Morocco we are a bank of 5, a bank of 4, and whatever they did.
Just what Greece did in the Euros a few years back, yeah.
So Amrabat may have been fantastic doing that, and I'm not saying he wouldn't. I'm just throwing a hypothetical. Now put him into a team where they don't just sit 10 men behind the ball, and he's now got the ball at his feet a lot more, and he has to go forward and do other bits. Would he be as good? I'm just asking. Anyway, guys, we're going to go there. Kuva. Perchy having a mare, so I've muted him. Kuva, you'll be joining me at 7 o'clock for the Spurs review. Alex, when you get back in from the stadium, come and join us. Perchy, if you can. Anyone else, we'll see you later, 7 o'clock. Last thing I'd say, please smash that subscribe button. Trying to get another 5 in the next hour. If 5 of you that haven't subscribed, please could. And get over to Alex and subscribe as well. And to the free Spurs boys. Kuva, Alex, Perchy, thanks, guys. Enjoy the game if you can. See you later.